نعبد وإياك نستعين الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. اللهم ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم اجعل القرآن لنا في الدنيا قرينا وفي القبر مؤنسا وفي القيامة شفيعا وعلى الصراط نورا وإلى الجنة رفيقا ومن النار سترا وحجابا. اللهم ارزقنا بكل حرف من القرآن حلاوة وبكل كلمة كرامة وبكل آية سعادة. اللهم أوصل ثواب ما قرأناه وأجر ما تلوناه من كتابك العزيز المنزل على لسان نبيك وحبيبك الصادق المفضل هدية واصلة إلى روحي وشرف نبينا نبي رحمة محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم، وإلى روح سيدنا وإمامنا علي المرتضى عليه السلام، وإلى روح سيدتنا ومولاتنا فاطمة الزهراء عليها السلام، وإلى روح سيدتنا ومولاتنا خديجة الكبرى عليها السلام، وإلى روح سيدنا ومولانا الحسن المجتبى عليه السلام، وإلى روح سيدنا ومولانا الحسين الشهيد بكربلاء عليه السلام، وإلى أرواح أئمتنا المعصومين من ذرية الحسين عليهم السلام، وإلى أرواح الأنبياء والمرسلين عليهم السلام، وإلى أرواح الصديقين والشهداء والصالحين، وإلى أرواح العلماء والسادات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات، وإلى أرواح من اجتمعنا هنا وقرأنا وختمنا لسببهم عبادك المرحومين، المرحوم الحاج جعفر محمد كرمال هاشم، اللهم اغفر له وارحمه واسكنه في الجنة. المرحوم الحاج جعفر محمد آل كرمال هاشم، اللهم اغفر له وارحمه واسكنه في الجنة. المرحوم الحاج جعفر محمد كرمال هاشم، اللهم اغفر له وارحمه واسكنه في الجنة. ولأرواح جميع المؤمنين والمؤمنات وكل من لا يذكره ذاكر من شيعة أمير المؤمنين عليهم السلام، اللهم اغفر لهم وارحمهم واسكنهم في الجنة. اللهم إنا لا نعلم منهم إلا خيرا وأنت أعلم بهم منا. اللهم إن كانوا محسنين فزد في إحسانهم، وإن كانوا مسيئين فتجاوز عن سيئاتهم واغفر لنا ولهم. اللهم احشرهم مع من
what is written exactly in the Quran, what is there in the Hadith of the Holy Prophet, what is there in the Seerat of the 12 Imams. Studying the Holy Quran and the Hadith and the Seerat of Charda Masumin, the 14 Masumin. The first ayat comes from Surah Al-Anbiya, ayat number 107. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. We have sent you, O Prophet, to be a mercy for all the worlds. So here is the duty and the reason why the Prophet was sent, for mercy and not for terrorism. And what happened actually during the time of the Prophet? What did he do? What was done to him and what did he do? In our religion, whenever we start anything, we start Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We start our namaz, we make iftar of the fasting, we enter the masjid. We start with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. That's the sunnah of the Prophet. We start eating, we start drinking. So we start with the mercy of God. Now, does Islam believes in violence? The answer is no. How? You might ask that there were so many battles fought. So this means killing people. In the battle of Badr, in the battle of Uhud, in the battle of Khandaq, Hunain, etc. A close study to all those battles, you will find that these are only defensive battles, not aggressive. When the enemy started to attack, then the Muslims were forced to defend themselves. And that's how the battle of Badr took place. That's how the battle of Uhud took place. And if you see battle of Khandaq, the Muslims were not prepared for the battle. So they have to dig a hole, a very wide hole, so that the enemy cannot come in. Whereas the enemy came with a very big army, and one of the biggest champions of the Arabs, Amr ibn AWWAL al-Amri. Amr ibn AWWAL al-Amri, his strength was known as 1,000 soldiers. He can fight with 1,000 soldiers alone. That was the strength of only one man, the champion, Amr ibn AWWAL al-Amri, and the rest, you people know what happened. But the battle of Khandaq proves that it was a defensive battle, not an aggressive battle. Now, if you study the life history of the Holy Prophet, he started preaching. So there were two sides. A person or the Holy Prophet preaching, the kuffar who were listening. Okay, what did the kuffar do? They started throwing stones. They started harming the Holy Prophet. And the Prophet always used to say, Ya Rab, Allahumma ahdi qawmi fa innahum la ya'lamun. Oh God, guide my people because they don't know. There are other riwayats that the Holy Prophet said, Allahumma arham qawmi fa innahum la ya'lamun. My qawm, my people, they don't know. They don't know the value of the Prophet. They don't know the value of the message. They don't know God. Still they need hidayat. So I don't want to harm them. So you also, God, forgive them and guide them. Now, on so many occasions, the same sentence has been repeated by the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Once, he was very much injured by the people of Thaqif. Now, Thaqif was a place in Taif. Taif is a separate city at a distance from Makkah or Medina, yes. So the people from that place, a place called Thaqif, they injured the Prophet, and the Prophet said the same thing. Allahumma di qawmi fa innahum la ya'lamun. Jibreel came at that time, and he came with an angel. Okay? And Jibreel told, this is the angel who has the power on the mountains. He can put this qawm between two mountains and crash them and finish. He said, no, I don't want that. The Holy Prophet said, I don't want that. Then what? Allahumma di qawmi fa innahum la ya'lamun. They don't know. They don't know my value. Now, there was another incident where in the battle of Uhud, similarly, he was hurt in his face. Same sentence, Allahumma di qawmi fa innahum la ya'lamun. See the mercy, violence against mercy. The Prophet never preached violence. The Prophet never preached terrorism. It starts from violence, throwing stones, cursing people, using bad words, and on the other side there is mercy. There is negative thinking on one side and negative results. On the other side there is positive thinking, positive results. And see how the message got spread. One of the last occasions when it was Fath Makkah, after so many series of battles, defensive battles, at last the Prophet came back to Makkah. Which Makkah? It was his hometown where he was expelled. He was forced to leave Makkah. Not only he was forced to leave Makkah, but also the Sahaba of the Prophet, the early Muslims, they also were forced to leave Makkah. Now they came back to their own hometown victorious. Okay? So, one of the companions of the Prophet, he got a little bit excited because he was expelled and he was defeated when he was expelled. Now he came victorious. He said, Al-yawm yawm al-malhama. Today we are going to show them. And the Prophet heard this. He said, no, wait, call that person and say loudly, Al-yawm yawm al-marhama. See, from malhama means fighting and taking revenge and things like that. He said, change it to Al-yawm yawm al-marhama. Today is the day of mercy. The Prophet preached mercy and he forced his companions to say Al-yawm yawm al-marhama. So, Islam never preached violence. Islam never preached terrorism. And a very notable thing that yes, there are times when the murderer has to get his death sentence. And we have read in Surah Al-Ma'idah the discussions between Habil and Qabil and what happened. And verse number 30 said, فَطَوَّعَتْ لَهُ نَفْسَهُ قَتْلَ أَخِيهِ فَقَتَلَهُ فَأَصْبَحَ مِنَ النَّادِمِينَ. Qabil was misguided to kill his own brother Habil, and after he killed Habil, he was sorry for that, but it's too late. Now what to do with the body? The first person, the first killer on earth, doesn't know how to bury the body of his own brother, the dead brother. What to do with it? So, فَبَعَثَ اللَّهُ غُرَابًا يَبْحَثُ فِي الْأَرْضِ لِيَرِيهُ كَيْفَ يُوَارِي سَوْءَةَ أَخِيهِ. So, Qabil took a lesson from that ghurab or from that crow, and he said, قَالَ يَا وَيْلَتَهُ أَعَجِزْتُ أَنْ أَكُونَ مِثْلَ هَذَا الْغُرَابِ. So he got the idea. Okay, now the solution is to bury the dead body. Here comes the ayat. I didn't explain in details the previous ayats, but here no, I will speak a little bit. Time at least will allow me. من أجل ذلك كتبنا على بني إسرائيل أنه من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا. And for this sake we have prescribed for Bani Israel that you can kill only in a situation where you see a killer with certain conditions, fulfilling certain conditions. Otherwise you can't kill that person. And here comes a very important part of the verse, وَمَنْ أَحْيَاهَا. And if there is a nafs which is dying, whether it's a dog, whether it's a human being, whether it's a cow, if there is a nafs dying and you meaning anyone, whether Bani Israel or Muslim or a Christian, if we do something to save the life of that person or of that animal, كَأَنَّمَا أَحْيَا النَّاسَ جَمِيعًا, as if he has brought life to the whole humanity. Now this is how the Quran is encouraging peacefulness, how to help other living beings, and at the same time preaching mercy. It's very interesting to note that the battle of Karbala started with mercy. It did not start with fighting, it started with mercy. Hur al-Riyahi was the first person to come to Imam Hussein. And what happened? Mercy. Okay, you have come, you have confessed, come to me. You are welcome. So that was the mercy. Hur said, no, I've done very bad thing. Anna li ja'jatu awladik. I am the one who has taken you away from the side of the river to go and put your camps aside. And now the children are thirsty. I did everything. I did this. Imam Hussein said, never mind. When Imam Hussein's grandfather was able to forgive those people of Makkah after being victorious, and he can do whatever he likes to those people of Makkah who fought with him for about 10 years and who did all what they did, as you know in the history, but he said, no, we are going to forgive them. And the Prophet in Fath Makkah said, Adhabu antum at-talaqa. Now talaqa is different from talaq. Talaqa means giving freedom to somebody. When there is a prisoner, you free him, you said anta taliq. It's a different from the word talaq. And we all know the story of the angel Fitros, when he came to the Prophet and then he was without wings, and then the Prophet said, okay, fine, go to the cradle of Imam Hussein. So that angel Fitros, I'm going very fast because time is running. So he said, Ana taliq al-Hussein. I am the one who got freed because of Hussein. So in Fath Makkah, the Prophet said, Adhabu antum at-talaqa. Here, Imam Hussein is telling Hur. Hur is confessing, I did this, I did that, I did this. Can you forgive me? Is there a tawbah for me? He said, why not? Why not Hur? So the battle of Karbala started with mercy. Nowadays, unfortunately, and just a few minutes, you can see people going to the masjid for prayers, and all of a sudden a bomb is being exploded. Very sad. Very sad to hear the news that a Muslim is throwing bombs on Muslims. In Afghanistan, more than 100 people died. There were 2 bomb explosions, and during the one explosion there was more than one explosion. So there were 2 main incidents in the last 1 month. In one incident, 2 suicide bombers. Just imagine a Muslim carrying bombs in his stomach or in his waist and killing himself and killing so many people. Why? There is a brainwash. There is a brainwash. Unfortunately, those bombings never occur in the masjid of Shafi'i, or in the masjid of Hanafi, or in the masjid of Aga Khan, or in the masjid of Bohra. It only happens in the masjid of Isna Ashari, those who believe in the 12th Imams. And you can see throughout history, those who were believing in the 12th Imams, they were always in pain, always under the threat of the rulers, always in pain, agony. Many times the Sadat were killed, the Sadat were slaughtered, and that's why the Sadat were forced to migrate to the neighboring countries like Turkey, Afghanistan, Iraq, India and Yemen. You will find lot of Sadats in Yemen. Some Sadats, they continue to their original religion. Some Sadats, because of the situations, so they started making taqiyya, generation after generation until they become a part of another religion. Otherwise they came from the first Sadat to migrate to Yemen was Ali al-Ariqi, very much known to the Sadats of Yemen. You ask any Sadat from Yemen, he will tell you who is Ali al-Ariqi. He is the son of Imam Ja'far Sadiq alayhi salam. And there is a tree who are the sons of Ali al-Ariqi and so and so and so and so. From the name, there is a special province. Sadat are scattered all over Yemen. But there is a province called Hadramaut. You might have heard about that place. In Hadramaut, you can recognize a person from his surname. He just tell you, my surname is Al-Attas or Al-Bar or Al-Bid, Saqaf. We know that he's a Sadat. But anybody whose name is Ba Nabila, Ba Raga, Ba Kharesa is not a Sadat. Anyone whose name is in the end Ba, which stands with Ba, Bal Ala, Ba Kharesa, Ba Mishmish, Ba Nabila, Ba is not a Sadat. So the people of Hadramaut differentiate between the Sadat and non-Sadat by these names. I think I should end my short discussions with Surah Fatiha to all marhumeens of the Muslimin and Muslimat. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'een. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim. غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم صل على محمد.
زيارة. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين يا علي بن أبي طالب. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء يا سيدة النساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى يا أم المؤمنين والمؤمنات. السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين. السلام عليك يا وارث آدم صفوة الله. السلام عليك يا وارث نوح النبي الله. السلام عليك يا وارث إبراهيم خليل الله. السلام عليك يا وارث موسى كليم الله. السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله. السلام عليك يا وارث محمد حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا وارث أمير المؤمنين ولي الله عليه السلام. السلام عليك يا ابن محمد المصطفى. السلام عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء. السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليك يا ابن ثار الله وابن ثاري والوتر الموتور. أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر وأطعت الله ورسوله حتى أتاك اليقين. فلعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأصلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلبسك من مدلهمات ثيابها. وأشهد أنك من دعائم الدين وأركان المؤمنين. وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرضي الزكي الهادي المهدي. وأشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وعالم الهدى والعروة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا، وأشهد الله وملائكته وأنبياءه ورسله أني بكم مؤمن وبإيابكم موقن بشرائع ديني وخواتيم عملي، وقلبي لقلبكم سيل وأمري لأمركم متبع. صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أجسامكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم. السلام عليك ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك ابن نبي الله، السلام عليك ابن أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك ابن الحسين الشهيد، السلام عليك أيها الشهيد، السلام عليك أيها المظلوم وابن المظلوم. لعن الله أمة قتلتك، ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك، ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. السلام عليكم يا أولياء الله وأحباءه، السلام عليكم يا أصفياء الله ووداءه، السلام عليكم يا أنصار دين الله، السلام عليكم يا أنصار رسول الله، السلام عليكم يا أنصار أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليكم يا أنصار فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليكم يا أنصار محمد الحسن بن علي ولي الناصر، السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبا عبد الله، بأبي أنتم وأمي طبتم وطابت الأرض التي فيها دفنتم وفزتم فوزا عظيما، فيا ليتني كنت معكم فأفوز معكم. السلام عليك يا أبا الفضل العباس بن أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا ابن سيد الوصيين، السلام عليك يا ابن أول القوم إسلاما وأقدمهم إيمانا وأقومهم بدين الله وأحوطهم على الإسلام، وأشهد لقد نصحت لله ولرسوله ولأخيك فنعم الأخ المواسي، فلعن الله أمة قتلتك، ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك، ولعن الله أمة استحلت منك المحارم وانتهكت حرمة الإسلام، فنعم الصابر المجاهد المحامي الناصر والأخ الدافع عن أخيه المجيب إلى طاعة ربه الراغب فيما زهد فيه غيره من الثواب الجزيل والثناء الجميل، وألحقك الله بدرجة آبائك في جنات النعيم. اللهم إني تعرضت لزيارة أوليائك رغبة في ثوابك ورجاء لمغفرتك وجزيل إحسانك، فأسألك أن تصلي على محمد وآله الطاهرين، وأن تجعل رزقي بهم دارا وعيشي بهم قارا وزيارتي بهم مقبولا وحياتي بهم طيبة، وأدرجني دراج المكرمين، واجعلني ممن ينقلب من زيارة مشاهد أحبائك مفلحا منجحا قد استوجب غفران الذنوب وستر العيوب يا كشف الكروب، إنك أهل التقوى وأهل المغفرة. السلام عليك يا علي بن الحسين زين العابدين، ويا محمد بن علي الباقر، ويا جعفر بن محمد الصادق، ويا موسى بن جعفر الكاظم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء الثامن الأئمة النجباء علي بن موسى الرضا، كن شفيعنا وشفيع الوالدين في يوم الجزاء. والسلام عليك وعلى أختك فاطمة المعصومة، وعلى محمد بن علي الجواد، وعلى علي بن محمد الهادي، وعلى حسن الزكي العسكري جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا صاحب العصر والزمان، سيدي الأمان الأمان من فتنة الزمان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك يا كعبة الإيمان، السلام عليك يا إمامنا وإمام الإنس والجان، أجل الله تعالى فرجه وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظفر. رزقنا الله تعالى في الدنيا زيارتكم وفي الآخرة شفاعتكم. والسلام عليكم يا أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة ومختلف الملائكة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.